Well, it's our closing moments now as we're not being joined by Nelson Ekujumi. He's of the Committee for the Protection of People's Mandate. Well, we're still looking at 2019. Good to have you join us, and Merry
pleasure.
Christmas.
Same to you.
2019 elections, we've just heard from the PDP, the Atiku Abubakar campaign spokesman, Kazim Afegbua, talking about the issues. And he did say he's picked two key issues that will lead the talking point for the campaigns, and it's looked at insecurity and the issue of, well, the deep-seated polarization amongst Nigerians. Your committee has been following up, developments for 2019, and you've also been fortunate to also monitor elections in Nigeria. So tell us what you see leading up to 2019. Perhaps the campaigns are already there. You must have started gauging the talking points of candidates. What are those issues you picked?
Well, ordinarily you expect the parties and their candidates to be focused on the issues which have become a recurring decimal. But unfortunately, you have a situation whereby some of the candidates, are more into mudslinging, are more into blackmail, rather than addressing the issues. But one expects that as we go further into the campaigns, come 2019 January, that the parties themselves will become abreast with the feelings of the generality of the Nigerian people, that they want issues-based campaign. But be that as it may, like we always say, you can only take a horse to the river. You can't force it to drink water. So whichever candidate or whoever wants to still remain on that track of campaigning on other sentiments rather than issues, I think they will have a scorecard when the election comes.
Well, before we talk about scorecards, I still want to look at those two issues, perhaps more. He talked about insecurity, and for the PDP, they think that, well, it is actually it is worse now compared to what happened prior to 2015 elections. What's your reading?
Well, my reading is that it's not out of place for them to want to latch onto what they helped exacerbate, because you recollect that the issue of Boko Haram or insurgency was one that if the government preceding this government had done the needful, rather than turning the funds, the Office of the National Security Advisor, into a bazaar where it was, it became money for the boys. You recollect there was one of their major stalwarts who was given about 4.3 billion naira to go and pray, while the Nigerian military was out there without arms, poorly motivated, running from ragtag bandits. So if a party is coming up now to tell us that the security situation is worse, I think we need to put the issues clearly on the front burner. That when you were in office, we had about 21 local governments that were being controlled by the terrorists. But as of today, we have seen situations where internally displaced persons are returning back to their ancestral homes. And what does that tell you? It tells you clearly that the security agencies have been able to drive out these terrorists from where they formerly occupied. You have also seen the seriousness of the present administration in rallying our neighboring countries, to ensure that the menace of Boko Haram is curtailed at the West African level, because the menace of Boko Haram is not a Nigeria affair alone. The other West African countries like Chad, Cameroon, Niger are also suffering the brunt. And Nigeria is playing that leadership role that God has bestowed on us. That is why the Nigerian president, you recollect, when he came into office, that was his first port of call, that look, we need to get rid of this. And only recently, when there were some minuses in the fight against this insurgency, he has also done the needful again, reminding them of the commitments that they swore to collaborate together. Because like our people say in Yoruba land, "Ika kan o gberu dori." What we mean is that you can't use one finger to lift a load onto your head, which means you need the support of your neighbor, to curtail this insurgency.
Well, talking about neighbors or talking about the people, oh, by the way, I've just only returned from Maiduguri, Borno State, and we must also say the Nigerian military is doing a fantastic job there. Time was no one dare step into that state, let alone even Maiduguri and a couple of other places. And the Hamatan is biting really hard. And I wondered while in my room how the soldiers I saw outside, how they were actually managing to stay awake in the cold, in the biting, harsh weather in Borno State. I'm trying to look at the people you talked about. Now, if you say community, Mr. Afegwa also said something about the people, and he said we are more than divided at the moment. And I'm asking if you share that, and if you do, what are those things that you think that politicians should be saying to Nigerians, or we should be telling Nigerians, like your committee, you do a lot of civic duties. What are you telling Nigerians in the face of elections or electoral messages that are telling the people that we're not together?
Well, you cannot take it away that, light and darkness can never meet. There will always be that division. Nigerians are divided today. That is a statement of fact. Why are they divided? They are divided because some people want a free access to the till. We have run a system in this country all these years where people just, because they know somebody in public office, they have access to the public till, where people don't have a means of livelihood, but they are building mansions all over the place. But right now, we have a government in place that is making efforts, that is in tandem with providing or meeting up to its responsibility to the people, which is the amelioration of the people's condition. That is the essence of government. So if some people still want us to go back to the old ways, where we had a lot of briefcases, billionaires or millionaires. But today, if you want to become a millionaire, you must have a legitimate means of livelihood. In the past, that wasn't the case. So we are gradually moving away from that past era, where people feel the public treasury is their own personal property. We are gradually moving to an era where the public treasury belongs to the public, where anybody in office is accountable to the people and must be made accountable. So if you say we are divided along that line, there's nothing we can do about that. Some of us are hell-bent, we are irrevocably committed. That if that is the division, that will be divided between those who want the public treasury to be used for the benefit of all, and those who want the public treasury to be used for the benefit of few. Well, I'm sorry, I remain on the side of the people. There's nothing I can do except whether they see reason and they become born again to come to this other side of the divide. But be that as it may, we will, as much as the campaign is going to commence fully, we are going out there admonishing the people that, look, like the Bible says, I'm a Christian, that righteousness exalts a nation. Any society that is promoting ill-gotten wealth, that is worshiping people who don't have a means of livelihood but who are wealthy, that society can never make progress. A society can only make progress if it encourages and worships those who are engaged in hard work, who are diligent, who are honest, who have integrity and character. That is the only thing that will take the society forward. And those are the values that some of us, I can't speak for everybody, some of us inherited these values from our parents. And we know that there is no climb where these values are maintained, that society will not make progress. I will give you as a parent now. As a parent, even though I have some shortcomings, I try as much as possible to ensure that my younger ones or my children don't follow in that area where I have my own shortcomings. That is why, as I sit here, I won't encourage you, I won't be happy if my child is lying. So we want a society that is built on truth, that is built on honesty, that is built on character, that is built on integrity. We don't want a society that is built on people who just want to make money and all their being revolves around is the primitive acquisition of wealth.
But if you look at it now, let's come back to the people and actually look at the message. Now, Mr. Afegwa, I'll go back to him. He said, because he accused the government, the government of the day, that when some of these people in the PDP then moved to the APC, the government was silent. And I said to him, I said, doesn't that mean that the PDP is like the APC and the APC is like the PDP, and Nigerians should not be looking towards a new, order or a new party? Does it worry you that we're still about, trying to define some of these parties as major political parties? Isn't it time that Nigerians can also look at individuals and some other parties and give them, the benefit of being in office and see if their manifestos are actually workable?
Well, going back to what you said, Kazim said when they were in PDP, they were alleged to be corrupt. But now that they are in APC, I also want to remind you that when these persons were in PDP and they were being, alleged, even the PDP themselves were calling it witch hunt. I hope we have not forgotten that. They were calling it victimization. They were calling it vindictiveness. So if because that man has moved from your party, the man that the state was allegedly after, because under our law, you are presumed innocent until proven guilty. These are mere allegations. If a man or a woman has been alleged, and you say, oh no, the allegations against him is false, and because he has now crossed over to the other party, that is when it's like you are now playing double standards. Because when he was with you, oh, he's not a thief. Now he's in the other side. Oh, he's a thief. That is not fair enough. So the issues are that, in as much as we are going to look at the individuals, it is also very important for us to look at the parties. Because the party is the vehicle. We run a party democracy. We don't run an independent candidacy democracy. So that is the truth. So, in as much as these major parties are out there, we should look at the character of the candidates that they are bringing before us. A candidate that does not have the pedigree of integrity, a candidate that does not have the pedigree of character. I, as an individual, the way I was brought up, the values that, I inherited from my parents, that is the values of my people, I won't throw it away because those are the same values I'm going to bequeath to people coming behind me. The values of integrity, the values of hard work, the values of character. So when people say we should look at the other parties, fine. Today we have about 91 registered political parties. Nothing stops the Nigerian people from doing an introspection of all the parties and their candidates. Because whether we like it or not, the 2019 election is not going to be contested between just the APC and PDP. Not forgetting the fact that a lot of these parties have usually come up with this attitude of endorsement. So you really want to ask yourself, should these people be taken serious if time and time again we have become used to their attitude of, we have all come together to endorse ex-candidates?
Talking about candidates, we must also go back to the last debate for the vice presidential candidates. And one wonders if we have the right quality of persons sometimes to come as candidates for political parties. It comes back to what you just said, talking about endorsement. How do we as a people try as much as possible to enforce it or to make some of these political parties give us quality candidates? Because from the debates, without mentioning any name or names, you would just realize that we still have a whole lot to do in terms of a leadership recruitment process that will bring us the right quality of leaders who would vie for such elective offices.
Well, it's a collective responsibility because a lot of us, we don't want to go, we don't want to break an egg, but we want to make an omelette. A lot of us today, politics is a dirty game. Politics is for XY people. But you and I know very well that it is this same people or this same class that we have derisively continued to...
I used to think like that, but not anymore, because now we have seen some people of great minds, character, and quality come compete side by side with these people who are not supposed to be there. But at the end of the day, the party also pushes them aside and bring up those people, in your word, endorsement, anointed candidates, and that is the problem. No, so it's a cycle. It's not as if there is a death of people who are really mentally fit for such offices.
It's the erosion of our political culture. You remember in the Second Republic, I remember vividly well as a young boy, as a teenager. My father used to have the party ID card. It was a paper make, such that they paid dues. But the political culture that we have now, that is the mindset of the vast majority of us, is a political party whereby we go there, at the end of the meeting, we are ready to take home. We don't want to contribute. Well, the party structure is a reflection of the mindset of the people. If you have, forfeited your rights to a party by not being a fee or a subscription or a membership due paying member of a party, then you won't have a voice. A lot of us want to, yes, you look at the internal structures of those parties. How many of our people or those in the parties ask for the party financial statements? Let us even know how much members are contributing to the party. That is why a lot of these parties, realizing the erosion of this value, when the time for election comes, they are prepared to put the nomination form fees at the rooftop. But ordinarily, if the people are the ones funding the parties, in that way, the people themselves who have funded these parties will be able to say, oh, in this party, we have identified material X, Y. This is the person we want. Another interest group in the party, because don't forget, a party is a conglomeration of interests. So another interest group in the same party can also bring up another party.
But again, if you think deeply, truly, I think it's about the people, not the party members, because you're not a party member, are you?
I'm not.
I'm not a party member, and if you look at it, then the question is, how many party members do we have in Nigeria, and who are those who make the bulk of electorates who vote on election day? Yeah. So if it is with the people, then I think the people perhaps we haven't actually done enough to sensitize the people. Yeah. Then we talk about, apart from your group, that's an NGO, we're talking about the NOA and perhaps the Ministry of Information. How much, because we'll close on this, how much do you think they've been able to give to the people in trying to change the orientation of the people towards having the right thinking for elections?
I think within these prevailing circumstances, I think they are doing their best, but their best might not be good enough. But also, don't let us assume or feel that this responsibility is for these agencies alone. Part of the responsibility
they have to show bite. They have to show something before we talk about us.
Yes.
Because you talked about your childhood, and we all recall what it was like childhood, growing up. By now, a lot of lines will stick up in your head, in your residual knowledge. You know that these are the do's and the don'ts. But we don't get to see them now. Yes. This is 2018, the eve of 2019.
Yes, that is why I said it's a collective responsibility. We need to, even in our various homes, without waiting for the state agencies like we have identified or non-governmental agencies, we also have a role to play, because a lot of the information that goes out in our communities are not informations that come from the official channels. They are informations maybe from the town meetings, maybe from the clubs, maybe from the market association. So every institution at this level, every state and non-state institutions have a role to play. And that is why we must take this responsibility like that of the missionaries. That look, even if it is one that we're able to convert into this orientation, we must never despair. You recollect, Jesus and Muhammad died millions of years ago, but every day you wake up in your neighborhood, somebody is preaching along the road. The mosques are there blaring their messages. Likewise, the church. So this responsibility, in as much as we will continue to advocate that the state agencies must do their job the way it's supposed to be done, but we at our own levels, at our own various enclaves, we also must key into that message and realize that that message is about our future and not about us alone.
A fine place for us to leave it. Nelson Ekujumi, many thanks for spending time with us.
It's a pleasure.
Well, take I think that's where we call it off today, Christmas edition, and I'll be back again in 2019. See you again.